Good evening, brothers and sisters in the Lord. It's a great honor and opportunity for me to share uh, the Bible reflection concerning the necessity on making a plan or reasons for planning. What the Bible says about planning. And not only what the Bible says about planning, but we will talk about uh, the command of God to live us orderly as man and woman of the Lord. So this evening, I would like to share with you that God is a planner. We can see this in time of creation. In the book of Genesis, when God created uh, the the story of creation, He created this systematically. There is first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, until seventh day, He rested. So, on that point of view, God is a planner. And to emphasize that God is a planner, that is the evidence of creation. The human body is evidence of this. The plan God gave Moses for the tabernacle in the wilderness is evidence of this. And even the plan of salvation is evidence of this, that God is a planner. So, God is certainly a planner, brothers and sisters in the Lord. So, for us, ministers of the Lord, it is very important that in doing the ministry of the Lord, we need to do planning. God commands us to live orderly lives. As what the Bible says in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 33. Paul set us a clear example according to 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 33. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. And in Ephesians chapter 5 verse 1, be ye therefore followers of God as dear children. So God's command that we should live orderly lives comes through clearly in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 40. Let all things be done decently and in order. Have you ever gone downtown with a view to doing or buying certain things only to be able to recall everything you had made a mental note of? As a result, you did not accomplish all you set out to do. Adequate planning would obviate such disorganization and frustration. So, Jesus taught us to plan ahead. And the Bible says in Luke chapter 14 verse 28 to 32. The man who builds a tower, in Luke 14:28, it says, for which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it? In verse 29, lest after he has laid the foundation and not able to finish it, all who see it begin to mock him. And then in verse 30 it says, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. So even Jesus taught us to plan ahead. And it was emphasized by the Gospel of Luke in Luke chapter 14 verse 28 down to verse 32. And then the king who contemplates war, according to Luke 14:31, it says, or what king going to make war against another king does not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000. In verse 32, or else, while the other is still a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks conditions of peace. Both builder and king are advised to plan ahead. So, brothers and sisters in the Lord, we are obliged and mandated as ministers of the Lord to do planning. And by the way, when we talk about plannings, we need to know that God is a planner and God commands us to live orderly lives. And even Jesus taught us how to plan ahead. Why we need to plan? Because lack of planning leads to confusion and frustration. It has often been said that if we fail to plan, we plan to fail. From my personal experience, I have seen that those who do not work according to a plan often have little or no direction. Live life in a human drum way, very seldom show lasting enthusiasm, accomplish very little, and more often than not are dictated by circumstances. For example, they are ruled by the telephone or by one or two people in their church or organization. Often they spend much of their time with problems and have little time to get involved in doing constructive things. This, of course, results in frustration for the leader and confusion for the follower. Paul suggests that we should know what we are aiming at and plan accordingly. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24 to 26, it says, "Do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but only one receive the prize? Run in a such way that you may obtain it. And everyone who competes for this prize is temperate in all things. They then do it to obtain a perishable crown, but we for an imperishable crown. Therefore, I run thus, not with uncertainty. Thus I fight not as one who beats the air." According to 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24 to 26. So, by next episodes that I'm going to share with you, we will talk about what Paul the Apostle do planning. Because the Apostle Paul was a man with a plan. So, by the way, I would like to recapitulate the lessons that I'm going to discuss with you about our biblical reflection concerning the necessity for planning. First, God is a planner, and we can see this evidence during the time of creation in Genesis. And even our salvation, God planned this. And God commands us to live orderly lives. We can live in our orderly lives if we will do things systematically. And even Jesus taught us to plan ahead. According to Luke chapter 14, verse 20 to 32, the man who builds a tower, the king who contemplates war. So, on the next episode, I will discuss to you the lesson which Paul, as an apostle, regarding planning. Good evening, brothers and sisters in the Lord, ministers, and all Christians. God bless you. Please follow my YouTube account. And once again, good evening.